If you have recognized that you are a people pleaser, or you recognize that you have friends, family members, people you care about are people pleasers, understand that they are not naive. But the reason why people pleasers neglect themselves is because they have taught themselves to believe that they do not matter. So, if you are realizing that you suffer from this, or you have people around you that you care so much about that suffer from this, then this video is going to be very helpful for you, because today we're going to be discussing why you neglect yourself, what is the psychology behind it, the emotionality behind it, and also the physicality of why you neglect yourself and are a people pleaser. And also I'm going to share with you at the very end, so stay tuned to the very end, because I'm going to share with you ways to how to stop being a people pleaser and understanding how to start self-pleasing and realizing who is deserving and worthy of you. Hello, hi, hello. Hi, this Coach, you beautiful beings. Welcome back on another episode on Embracing Essential Series, which homegirl Brittany Fonson is. If you're new to this channel, welcome. On this channel, I speak about spiritual development, emotional awareness, and I do guided readings for each zodiac sign. And I talk about things I feel need to be talked about because it's our divine right to know more than what we have been told. And I'm actually feeling guided. I'm finally getting my passion back to start doing readings for each zodiac sign, but there's going to be a new twist to it where I'm not really being guided to use tarot, just a little bit, but there's going to be a fun twist that I feel I'm going to have a great time with, and the readings are going to be more channeled and a lot more clarity for each zodiac sign. So when that comes up, you'll know. You'll get the notification. And if you don't get the notification, it's because you got to hit that subscribe button. But when you do subscribe, make sure you hit that like button too if you enjoy my energy. And also, it helps the algorithm of YouTube to help my videos cycle out to people who need to hear these messages. And I know that this is an important goddamn message, because this took me years to master, and also years of healing and years of taking accountability, because you can't change what you're not aware of, and you can't make yourself a victim towards circumstances that only you can change. So what I'm talking about is why people pleasers neglect themselves. Like I said in the beginning, people pleasers are not naive. We have to understand that people pleasers, I had to write all this down because I wrote so much down. Like when I do my videos, I do it the night before. Like, what am I going to talk about? Because that's the best way I could channel is at nighttime. But like, one thing people gotta understand is that people pleasers are not born. They are created through the series of creating survival mechanisms as a mechanism for coping in order for them to get through their life. So I'll say that in a term that we all understand, is that people pleasers are never born. They are created because they had to create coping mechanisms in order to survive their environment. And I don't know why, but I feel like I just channeled that, clicked for a lot of people. Because when, like me, the reason why I suffer from being a people pleaser is because I grew up believing that I had to be a parent pleaser. And that's how people pleasers do end up becoming people pleasers. It's because they grew up believing that they have to be parent pleasers. The thing about my story is that I was supposed to be aborted, but my sister was planned. So I know it wasn't my mom's fault because she was still a child having children. And it took me a while to forgive her, but once I let go of that resentment, we have a better relationship now, to the point I understand the circumstance, and she understands why she was the way that she was towards me and my sister. But even growing up, a lot of people pleasers realize they're parent pleasers, and when they realize they have to be parent pleasers, they start being people pleasers to everyone around them. And it's because they feel responsible for other people's happiness, and therefore it's like they perceive themselves in a certain way. So people pleasers grow up starting out as parent pleasers because they want to be perceived a certain way in order to get that love that they desire, or in order to make sure that they feel safe. Like for me, if I didn't do something my parent wanted or my sister wanted, I will end up getting my ass beat. Like, literally, my sister was very physically abusive to me. I forgive her for that, but she physically abused me if I wasn't a slave to her, you know? And at the time, my mom didn't realize the only time she said she loved me was when she needed something. So that's my way of receiving love, and that was my way of surviving my environment, because I had to people please in order. And then not only that, when people pleasers grow up, they define their worth based on other people's perspective of themselves, because they were taught to neglect themselves. Therefore, their opinion of self does not matter. This is why I say people pleasers are not naive. If anything, they're very intelligent. You have to have a loving, giving heart. You have to be very intelligent to have a loving, giving heart. And it's because the heart holds more neurons than the mind. So that means it's much more intelligent than the mind. So a person who has a lot of love has a lot of intelligence. They're not naive. They're just overgiving. Is because they don't understand the importance of self yet. So I really want to emphasize that to you guys. But let's get into, since people pleasers grow up being people pleasers and learning how to neglect themselves because they become parent pleasers, they all of a sudden go into this state of valuing others' opinions over their own because they fear of being judged and rejected. And that's the sad thing, you know? A lot of people pleasers don't understand when they get into, they're really liked. The reason why people pleasers are really, really liked is not only because people think they're easy to manipulate, is because they give people a sense of importance. And because they give people a sense of importance, they have a tendency to stay silent and thinking that other people's opinions matter. But when they speak up, they get a sense of fear because they don't want to be judged or neglected for self-expression. And that's the thing. When people pleasers, the reason why they have that psychology mentality is because they probably grew up with parents letting them know, don't feel, stop feeling your emotions, shove it down. You know, that's type of like the toxic masculine, always telling us to shut our emotions down. So when we grow up, we believe we don't feel safe in feeling, and we don't feel safe of expressing. Hence why a lot of people pleasers overgive so much and don't allow themselves to receive, or don't receive at all, because they believe they aren't worthy of it, because that other person's more worthy of it. And I want to share something with you guys too, because I had a message not too long ago that came up like maybe a month ago, I think 2 months ago, where I really was literally letting go of like the people pleasing mentality. And I had to realize, like, wow, I give so much people grace, so much forgiveness. Oh, no, this is when I had my shamanic ceremony not too long ago. And I recognized that I kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And when I looked at the presence of the face that was holding me, it was myself. I was apologizing to myself because I felt so much guilt for all the things I've done in my life. But then I realized a lot of people pleasers give people so much importance and so much grace and so much forgiveness, but they don't give that to themselves. And the message I received when I realized that within my own mentality of being a people pleaser, I had this message come to me saying, what makes you think you are not allowed permission to have God's grace? If you're willing to give grace and forgiveness to other people, what makes you think you don't deserve that in return? If you believe that, for example, if you do believe that you're deserving of so much wealth, but yet you see a drug dealer who used to be so bad, did so bad, was a drug dealer, and ended up becoming the biggest musician in the world, what makes you think you're not deserving of God's grace? And that was a pivotal moment for me, because I realized that people pleasing, it wasn't a form of like thinking there was something wrong with me, even though I did think like that. It was a form of something I didn't understand within myself that I needed to let go of. And this is what we have to understand as being people pleasers, or if you're dealing with people who are people pleasers, is that they still haven't found a sense of self. They probably have, but they still feel a sense of insecurity of expressing their true self. So, you know, that's the thing. That's the psychology behind how people pleasers act. Now, let's get into the emotionality of it. And we're going to go into relationships, because this is where this is where we could get so caught up in the emotionality of being a people pleaser, because we form an identity around it. So therefore, when we form an identity around something, we create a personality around it, and our personality creates our personal reality. So in relationships and friendships, connections, period, people pleasers have a tendency to silence themselves to make others feel more important than who they are. This way of being makes people pleasers lack honesty within themselves. So in return, others can't be honest with them. So I don't know, something's telling me to go to my notes because I have a lot more notes for this. And the reason why I say that is because, notes, where are you? Come to me. The reason why I say is because people pleasers act this way is because they lack honesty with themselves, is because they do. Hold on, let me go with my notes, you guys, because there's a lot more that I want to talk about on this one. Is that in relationships, this way of being makes you lack honesty within yourself, hence why others lack being honest with you. And the thing is that this is why I say this, is because relationships are not here to can I say that? I keep saying divine. The relationships and friendships are not here to help you define your sense of self-value and worth. People pleasers believe that their happiness comes from valuing others, valuing things outside of themselves, and being harsh on themselves. It's a weird thing. But because of this is why they are always around a lot of people, want to be around people, always want to be in a relationship, because they think their sense of value and worth is defined by another person. But I'm going to share with you, relationships and friendships are here for your growth, not for your happiness. And I say this because people pleasers get really, really triggered when it comes to others, because they are finding themselves in one-sided relationships, poor treatment, lack of acknowledgement. Is because those are signs and signals letting you know this is how you see yourself. So therefore, if this is how you see yourself, you can't keep looking outwards. You have to start looking inwards. And this is why it's so important to recognize that relationships and friendships are here to help you grow. They're not your sense of solitude. This is why it's important to learn self-love, because when you learn self-love, you learn to honor your solitude. When you learn to honor your solitude, you will be able to make decisions based off of self-love rather than loneliness. So in realizing that, people pleasers have to understand that it's important to understand and how to prioritize self, because we grow up with the mentality of being manipulated and thinking there's something wrong with us when we do express ourselves. So therefore, we get into relationships that are one-sided because we have yet to love ourselves and prioritize ourselves to see what we actually deserve. And another thing I want to share with you guys about relationships when it comes to people pleasers, since they lack honesty with self, this is why people are not able to be honest with them. Relationships are not here to define your self-worth or make you happy. Relationships exist to help you grow and see parts of yourself that need love and need adjusting. So therefore, lack compassion through, like for me, for example, I realized this not too long ago, that my dad lacks having compassion with his words to speaking to women. And I realized I'm lesbian. So when I am in a relationship, my past relationships, I was so ruthless with my words, meaning like very, very hurtful. And it made me recognize whoa. I not only did I recognize a trait that I picked up because I believe that's how I was supposed to be loved, I end up becoming that very thing that I neglected to see within myself and heal before jumping into relationships. So therefore, that's why that saying says, hurt people. I had to do a little drawing because my inner child at least wanted a drawing with all these damn words on here. But and not only that, since I realized that about my dad, the masculine within myself, I started to realize the feminine within myself. My mom is such a giver too. She gives so quickly that it allowed people to lack giving to her. So I recognized that within myself, being a people pleaser. I got into relationships where people barely gave to me because I gave so quickly. And in that, it allowed people to lack giving to me and taking ownership. And they never took ownership of their inconsistency or how they treated me, because I allowed them to treat me already as they were and keep coming back. Like, I had an ex recently come back, and I had to recognize myself. I need to cut this shit off, because like, it was already one-sided as it was. So she wanted the best of both worlds, be in a new relationship and try to like talk to me, not in a way where she wanted to get back with me, but in a way where she like could cipher my energy. And I knew that's what she was trying to do. And I'm just like, you know what, I don't want this anymore, because you have yet to take accountability for your inconsistency. But it was my fault, because I allowed her to keep coming back. And now I'm just like, I'm done. Now that I've healed to stop neglecting myself and being a people pleaser, I recognize relationships are here to help me grow, not make me happy. So that's the importance of what people pleasers have to realize when it comes to relationships and friendships, is that they're here to help you grow and realize the inconsistency and the lack of honesty that you have with yourself, and to recognizing what you truly deserve. So now, here's where we're going to get into. Do I have any more on my notes before I continue? Here's where we're going to get into. All right, perfect. Here's what we're going to get into. How you can stop being a people pleaser and stop neglecting yourself when it comes to relationships, friendships, authoritative figures, even your parents and family. Anywhere you go, how to stop being a people pleaser and stop neglecting yourself. And this is going to be kind of triggering, because it's going to make you have to take accountability for what you've been lacking giving to yourself. And that is, if you want relationships or any connections to be rooted in truth, you will have to give up the identities that collapsed you into niceness. Now let's fucking talk about fucking niceness, bro. Because I can't stand hearing, I'm a nice person, I'm humble. Listen, anyone who says that to me is automatically, I know they're a people pleaser. And automatically I know they neglect themselves. Because not only did I used to say that, I realized people like that always like to give, and they say they love helping people, they allow people to walk all over them because they believe that they have to be nice, because they grew up with the mentality of thinking that they know how to make others happy. So therefore, their only importance is to make others happy, but therefore they think they don't deserve to receive that. And this is why it's important to understand, to have any connections rooted in truth, even with yourself, you have to give up the identities that literally made you forget yourself and form this fake and authentic identity of niceness. And the reason why I do not like the word nice or humble is because the reason why I even say humble is because we live in a world where we do have an ego. And the ego is here to help us get what the fuck we deserve, if we have it in a healthy manner. Because there is a such thing as a toxic ego and a healthy ego. I'll actually leave that video up here. So being humble is like you neglecting yourself for other. And that's how niceness is too. You're neglecting yourself for other. This is why I'm a huge believer that there's a difference between nice and kindness. Niceness is that you're giving yourself up for others. Kindness is that I will render my respect to you. But if you disrespect me, best believe you don't deserve shit from me. Plain and simple. And I know as a people pleaser, that may make you feel like you should feel guilty for not being kind, for not being giving, because you know what it feels like not to be loved and not to be given to. But the thing is, it is not your job to make people see the importance of themselves when it's their priority to see who they are, why they are the way that they are, and allow themselves to be who they are. So I share all this with you is because, you know, we're coming to a point in time in human civilization where a lot of us need to step into our sovereignty. And I keep saying this is because we are not going to be able to change the world that we feel like we want to be in or live in or feel happy in until we start being that change and that example. Like the other day, what me and my mom had a deep conversation, you know, because we both suffer from the same thing, being people pleasers. And you know, she told me, she was like, even with my stepdad, I love what my stepdad said, because he's an entrepreneur, and he started to realize he helped people make millions, bro, but he's still in the same place of not being happy with themselves. And now he has no shame in raising his prices because he knows his worth. That's what the fuck I'm talking about. But with my mom, I love what she said. She's like, you know, I started to realize a lot of people talk junk about me when I'm so giving, when I'm so loving, and when I want to come around or be around them, they never invite me. They don't want me around. And it happened with her parents, with her family, with friends, and all that. And she told me, she said just like this. She was like, if you don't want me around, then fine. I ain't going to come around. But if you don't recognize the gem that I am, then you lost out on a ruby. And I'm like, Mom. That's the exact face I had when she said that. I was like, one, I'm getting chills on my legs. Like, one, I'm proud of you for recognizing that shit. And two, that is some deep motherfucking shit to say, but it's true. People pleasers go through the most amount of trauma and pressure throughout life, and people don't even have the audacity to ask them, how are they doing? Are they okay? What are they up to? Do they need anything? And because of this, you know, they don't recognize the gem that they are, and it takes pressure to create a gem. So it's important to understand that you matter too. So the way to stop being a people pleaser is to stop caring about people who don't give a fuck about you. But to also recognize that you need to start giving a fuck about you. Because when you do, that's how you attract people who do care about you. And I started to realize that too when I started to let go of my ex, let go of people who disrespected me, who put me down and all of this shit. And you know, who ghosted me and they wanted to come back. I'm just like, you know what? Nah, I'm good. I faced my loneliness. I faced my codependency. I faced thinking that I needed people or to please or to define my worth based on what people thought of me. And since I started doing that, I started to attract people who really, really care about me. And it's been such a blessing to experience. It has been such a blessing because I realized the reason why I attract people that hurted me, because I was hurt. And hurt people hurt people. But hurt people hurt themselves too. And I'm here to tell you, people pleasers, it's time to take accountability for the fact that you are hurting. And it's okay to hurt. It's okay to feel neglected. It's okay to feel those emotions that are so pressed within you that makes you think that there's something wrong with you, because there's not. We're meant to feel. We're meant to feel. We're meant to feel like we matter too, because we do. So, but you need to stop neglecting yourself. And the way to stop neglecting yourself is stop ignoring how you feel. Stop ignoring speaking up for yourself. And stop ignoring the shadow aspect of who you are. Because majority of us run from the imperfection of who we are, to the point that we run away from the very issues that we are causing within ourselves. Is that we keep over giving, but we're not giving enough to self. So I wanted to share that with you guys because I don't know who needed to hear this. I know someone did. And if I help one person, I'm grateful for that. But you guys, this is what I want to share with you in understanding why people pleasers are the way that they are, and why they neglect themselves, and how to stop doing that. And I'm here to share with you. It will take some time. It's not an overnight process. Like I said, it took me years to start realizing this, adjusting to this, and letting go, and not having shame in letting go. And here's the thing, you guys, you never need to fucking explain yourself. If you are healing and realizing your worth, and you end up ghosting people, you end up saying bye, you end up being the bigger person and realizing I don't want to deal with this anymore, you do not have to explain yourself to an authoritative figure, to a parent, to a friend, to a relationship at all. And I say this is because you are a priority. And sometimes a lot of people will never understand what you're going through, because they will never understand the process that you have to go through in order to heal yourself. So therefore, people don't need an explanation. If they have a problem, that's a personal issue. But I share that with you so you can have confidence in the fact that never have shame and realizing what you are ready to change within yourself, and let go of things outside of yourself, because you know you're worthy of more. So other than that, you guys, I really hope this was beneficial and assist you in some way. If it was uplifting and it brought a lot of clarity to you, please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button, and also please share this with other people out there, because there's a lot of people that need to start recognizing this so they can realize their worth, and we can all start not only expressing ourselves but start living in our true divine joy. Meaning that once you know yourself, once you start prioritizing yourself, once you love yourself, it's like all of a sudden your blessings and all the good things start coming to you, because you recognize the importance within you, because you start seeing through the eyes of God the way God or the universe sees you. So other than that, you guys, I love you so much. I'll see you on the next one.